What's going on, guys? Got an unboxing video here. I already cut the tape on this. This thing was really taped up, so I went ahead and cut it open. I wasn't actually going to do an unboxing video. I decided, screw it, I'll do one. I got this off eBay. This mask I didn't consider getting it for a while, and then I really wanted one, and I couldn't believe the deal that I found on eBay. So I was really lucky to get the deal that I got. Cut the tape. And
in the name of the king, I declare sentence upon you. If you are evil spirits, you must be destroyed. If you are mortal, as you claim, our world cannot support you. In either case, you must be destroyed. You will die in the fire of Ishtar.
it's in there. This is the Don Post Studios calendar reissue, Attack of the Mole People mask. Very, very cool old mask. One thing I didn't know about this mask is the back. It's all latex, the whole mask is latex, but the back, all these little bubbles or bumpy things, they're like fuzzy. I've seen a few masks with it before. I think when I was a kid I had some like rubber dinosaurs, some rubber toy dinosaurs, and they had like that fuzz over them, almost like a felt. I can't explain it. But all of this, the whole back of them here, is like a fuzzy over the latex.
Optical nerve must be hypersensitive. That's why they couldn't stand the light. How they survived here.
Definitely a very cool mask. These go, depending on, who's selling them, but these can go from $200 to $300. Sometimes, sometimes they go for $100, but I've seen them in the ballpark of $200 to $300, and I got this for about $50. So I got a great steal for this. I couldn't believe it when I seen. I put a bid. There's a few other people bidding on it, but I ended up winning the bid. They're called the Don Post Studios calendar reissues because I think back in 1966 they had a Don Post calendar, or there was a calendar made of all the Don Post masks from back in the 60s, and in the 90s they reissued all the masks that were on the calendar, this being one of them. There was a Wolfman mask, Frankenstein's monster, the Mummy, just a bunch of other classics that they had on there, and they reissued them all. On the reissues, I don't know if you can see, they made them extremely thick. I don't know if you guys can see how thick. That is a really, really thick casting. And they actually made them this thick because these reissue masks were made for collectors. These weren't just like thin Halloween masks to run around and wear. They made these for collectors to collect. So they did a really thick pull, really thick casting and all these. And again, I didn't realize this before, but the back of it was like really fuzzy. It was like velvet kind of felt fuzz over them. Really, really thick casting. Again, the original calendar was, I think, back in 1966. And then these came out in, I believe, 1998. I'm not absolutely positive. But again, I believe the original calendar was 1966. All these masks were on, and then they reissued them in the late 90s. I believe this one, 1998. So very, very cool. The eyes and the front of the face have like a gloss. It's a little cracking in the gloss, but the paint's still there. It's just like a harder gloss over the front of them. Very cool. And this mask was sculpted after the mole people in the little black and white movie called Attack of the Mole People. Came out in 1956, I believe. 1956 was when Attack of the Mole People came out. And I don't know the exact year they sculpted this, but it was sometime in the 60s when this original mask came out. It was around the mid-60s. And then this is the reissue they did in the 90s. The cool thing about the Don Post reissue masks, the calendar reissues, they use the original molds that they had from the mid-60s. And, they're old molds, so some of them they had to retool and re-sculpt a little bit and kind of add some detail and just mess with them a bit. The cool thing is the mold they used for this, for the Mole Man or the Attack of the Mole People mask, that mold they didn't have to do any retooling to. It's one of the few surviving molds, one of the few masks that that the surviving molds didn't have to be retooled or resculpted or messed with in any way. They just used the mold exactly the way it was from the mid-60s to make these 90s reissues. So this came from the original mold, untouched, unmessed with. Very cool.
We come to you as friends. Well, you count on that. What do you want? Since you have shown that you possess the divine fire of Ishtar, the king is now convinced that you are holy messengers. Are you speaking only for your king? The king's will is law for all. He has ordered me to assure you of his friendship and to invite you to a royal feast. We're most grateful.
I believe there's a few different colorations of this, color variations of this. Not exactly sure. I believe that there was a Universal Studios gift shop, I believe, that sold like an exclusive version of this with like a lighter paint job or a different paint job. But for the most part, I think the reissues look like this with the darker brown. The darker brown color. And again, so cool. His whole face is just solid latex. There's a hard gloss over the mouth and the eyes, but under his neck right here, and then on the sides and the top of his head, and then the entire back of the head here is all that real fuzzy, soft fuzzy, whatever they do, put over the latex. So that's very cool. I didn't know that it was, like I said, I want to say furry, but I guess fuzzy is the only word I can really describe it with. It's really soft to the feel, to the touch. So very cool. Again, Attack of the Mole People, Don Post Studios calendar reissue mask. I just love how thick they casted these. And that casting is just crazy thick. All the way through.
You have fondness for her, have you not?
Yes.
Super thick. I mean, these things hold themselves up. Again, I got this. These go for quite a bit of money these days. All the Don Post Studios calendar reissue masks go for quite a bit now. So if you can find one, for under $100, it's usually a pretty good deal.
Not very many.
It is a sacred number, the highest number that our sacred food can nourish.
What do you do when your population exceeds that number?
We kill them. We sacrifice them.
From Attack of the Mole People, the 1956 film. And this mask was on the original Don Post calendar.
The beasts of the dark have desecrated our dead.
Or the calendar.
They took the body of the god that was slain by the
from the
intruders.
mid-60s.
When they were finished with it, they left it in the tunnel.
That's when the original mask came
All
out.
flesh had been torn from the body.
And this is the 1998, late 90s reissue.
Let us now bless the spirit of the earth.
Ishtar has given us the food of the tunnels, the fish of the river, and the sacred milk of the goat. Above all, we glorify Ishtar
There's no
for
cut
giving
up
us
the back of
power
this.
over the beasts of the dark, that they may till the earth beneath us.
so that Sharu, King of Kings, his children and his children's children, may live in strength and rule the world. Oh dear. Even if there is a way out, we'll never find it.
Not without help.
You mean the albinos?
No.
And this mask does look pretty close to
5,000 years of slavery.
what the mole people look like in the movie,
Turn men into beasts.
the '56
There's more
movie.
up there, Jack. Thank you, Adele.
So yeah, definitely a cool mask. I've wanted one of the Don Post Calendar Reissue masks for a while.
Go right ahead, Raj.
I've always liked this one, just as kind of weird, kind of alien-like. Definitely cool. And I was glad to snag this one at a good
What
price.
about you?
I do plan on, I'll try to pick up some of the other Don Post Calendar Reissue masks later on. If I can get them at a decent price. I'm not going to
But how are
pay
you able to tell?
a ridiculous amount, but you just got to keep looking. They're out there.
2, 3.
But glad to have this guy. Definitely find a spot
I just feel it all the
somewhere to
time.
put him.
What happens when your heart beats faster?
It matters not. It is my heart.
And yeah,
It is my time.
that's it. Thanks for watching, guys.
It's okay, Dad. You better go.
Later.
This is my home. The king has ordered it so.
Well, never mind the king. You're free to go, understand?